Hi there. My name is Sam Cooper. I'm going to be talking about Frank Abagnale Jr. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, as well as the weather is very bad outside. None of my roommates are here to listen to my speech. So, we're going to start. Frank Abagnale Jr. is and was one of the most greatest conmen or identity thieves to ever live in the United States. He was quite literally the most interesting man in the world. Through his genius arts as a con man, he became a Pan-American pilot, a doctor in Georgia, and finally a lawyer, making somewhere around $2.5 million before the age of 21, as well as outrunning the FBI and staying one step ahead of them. When Frank was 15, he called out the gas station in his surrounding areas and rang up a bill with his dad's credit card. His dad eventually got the bill, and it was almost $3,500. His mother sent him away to a school for delinquent boys. Frank was fed up with his parents and left school and home. He duplicated his driver's license, making him 10 years older. He would then apply for jobs using false education, therefore getting jobs that would pay higher. After Frank figured out that he wasn't making enough money from the jobs that he had, he decided to go a different route. Frank would write all these bad checks, racking up multiple debt charges. He would thrill the tellers with his personality, keeping them distracted from the fraudulent checks. Frank then decided to try and become a pilot. Not by going to pilot school, but by faking his way through it. Pan American Airlines was oblivious to his schemes. He found out the layout of the security badge by identifying himself as a high schooler writing a newspaper article. He then called the companies saying that he lost his uniform, and they gave him one. He used these to fly all around the world, according to Pan American Airlines. Abagnale flew over 250 flights, clocking over 1 million miles and visiting 26 countries. Frank avoided the agents in Georgia when he became a pediatric doctor for a few months, surprisingly not having to be called upon to save any patients' lives. He then moved on to Louisiana to become a lawyer. He went back to his old ways of falsifying his education as he was now Frank Abagnale, Harvard graduate. Frank figured out that one of his co-workers was doing a background check on him. He vanished, only to be found in France by the man chasing him the entire time, Joseph Shea. He had spent years tracking Frank from states to countries around the world. It's figured that he had cashed roughly $2.5 million in fraudulent checks, and as a result of that, it landed him about 6 months in a France prison, 6 months in a Swedish prison, and 4 years in a U.S. prison in Atlanta, Georgia. After Georgia, Joseph made a deal with the FBI and Frank. Frank would be out of prison, but he would have to help the FBI catch and educate them on conmen and frauds around the U.S. Frank worked with the FBI for over 30 years. He eventually opened his own business, Abagnale and Associates, helping those who could have been targeted for identity theft and/or fraud. Frank Abagnale started out as a mischievous teenager. Becoming a pilot, then a doctor, and finally a lawyer. He then became one of the FBI's most useful educators when it came to identifying identity fraud and con artists' ways. Even though Frank did his own things and broke a lot of laws to do what made him happy, he still turned around and, after all of his time incarcerated, to create his own business and educate people about the ways he conned and fraudulently made his way around the world. Thank you.